wants you to have an ESG strategy, or at the very least a framework. And you must be knowing that this is something that absolutely affects you. Why ESG matters? 79% of investors very crucial, are very critical, especially when it comes to ESG risks. So they don't just overlook it because it also affects their own taxes. So I do know for sure that if you're a North American investor here, you're personally taxed on your investment in terms of like, where are you putting your money, and is your money doing good to the environment? Is your money helping to empower local communities where it is invested, and all of that? So they affect you from both a personal level and even from a corporation's level. So there is a report from PwC that I will encourage all of you to essentially go and look into. And essentially, companies with ESG practices, they really outperform their competitors in every way that you can think about, not only from a marketing standpoint, because ESG is not a tick box exercise. Maybe it used to be 5 years ago, but now it is not just a tick box exercise. It is, in fact, a reality that organizations have to find themselves, unfortunately, having to figure out how to go about it. So ESG in medicinal cannabis and industrial hemp. From an environmental standpoint, we're looking at sustainable farming, which essentially reduces water usage by 30% compared to traditional crops. Because with cannabis, you don't just plow like the way we see Komasimo. I'm assuming that a lot of us are here. Like that, right? But here you're looking at essentially setting up greenhouses and processes and systems in which you can contain not only the plant, but also ensure the quality of the plant. Because you're not only selling to the locals, you're also now selling to the international markets. So for Botswana, I think really I'd like to congratulate Tefi and John for bringing this conversation, because I think this is the first platform, as I said, that we're having regarding this very conversation. And it is also very much well in alignment with the government priorities of the day, to see cannabis as a sector in which we could diversify our economy as a country. So hemp, from an environmental standpoint, it absorbs about 15 tons of carbon dioxide per hectare. And this essentially means that hemp is actually a natural climate change fighter. So it is helping us while we actually are doing that. And a case study, I went through some companies that are doing very well, or countries that are doing very well at cannabis. And the USA, the Colorado hemp farms, they had essentially slashed up carbon emissions by 40% with regenerative agriculture, and this is between 2016 and 2020. So you can imagine how much more have they managed to essentially cut down as of date. And I cannot give case studies to African markets because there's very limited data. And for researchers out here, I will, on this very same breath, appeal to you rather to make sure that there is enough research, enough papers that are going out there as far as cannabis cultivation and industrial hemp is concerned, in not just Botswana, but also for the region, because now we're looking to trade with one another as Africa. From a social standpoint, we're looking at job creation. There is a couple of farmers from here who are in this industry from South Africa, and they will attest to the fact that South Africa's cannabis industry has essentially generated so many jobs up to date. And from a report that I've seen from 2022, 2023, it's showing that the cannabis sector has a potential of essentially employing about 25,000 people in that sector. And from a healthcare perspective, we're looking at essentially improving pain management and epilepsy care, which is something that, in as much as I think it has always been a very baffling debate between whether or not we should really embrace cannabis, but also at the same time, from a personal level, you do know its medicinal benefits. So that is a baffling difference between regulation and and what is essentially what we know innately that it is good, not just for ourselves but also for our sectors. So a case study of this is Canada government. These are some of the case studies that it shouldn't just be numbers to us. It means that this is an opportunity for us to explore. From a governance standpoint, I think here for Botswana is more of a learning rather. There are international regulatory bodies in the sector that some of them is like, one of them is good manufacturing practice. Also, we do know about the World Health Organization guidelines that you need to make sure that you are aligned to. But from here in Botswana, I do believe that there is a need for BOMRA, as well as the Ministry of Agriculture and even the Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Trade to join heads and see how we could essentially establish a regulatory body that is looking at the cannabis sector. What we do not want to see is for people to already garner interest in the sector, as we already have investors here who want to scale to our country. We need to make sure that we have the regulation ready to be able to absorb all this foreign direct investment, but also even for cultivation locally, which I think that many young people are looking forward to exploring how the sector can actually help them. We've seen over the past 2-3 years, agriculture becoming a very attractive sector for young people. We do have case studies of young people who have really not just brought themselves from the poverty lines, but have also empowered their communities through employment and job creation. And local empowerment in terms of like skills transfer and all of that. So this is a real opportunity that I would really like Botswana seeing it and treating it as a measure of urgency. When it comes to alignment with international standards, we're talking to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and it comes to mind some of those that is welfare and better healthcare for our communities, and another one which is essentially Goal 8, which is talking to economic growth. There is 16 UN SDGs that I would encourage all of us to go and learn about. And a case study on this is that the True Leaves ESG strategy, it essentially helps strengthen governance and attracted investors. If you do follow other commodities, other markets such as mining, you would know how ESG has affected companies' profitabilities over the past 2 years. And the market potential. Why in Africa? Why is it imperative for South Africa to essentially take on this opportunity with immediate effect? It's the fact that we're very rich in our natural resources, and we have perfect climate for hemp cultivation. We can just borrow lessons from South Africa. We can also borrow lessons from Rwanda. Zimbabwe has also done that fair bit in terms of investment in the sector. And I do believe that in Botswana, we can also do this. And then cannabis and hemp, it presents about $7.1 billion revenue potential by 2028. This is an estimation from prohibition partners. South Africa would be very much, would know about this. And then in terms of Botswana's regulatory framework, allow me to use this opportunity to sell our country. We are the best when it comes to FDI facilitation. And I'm not just saying this because we have the kindness of people, but it's because also we have our policies are still very much flexible to foreign investors. And then also in terms of like your when you're dealing with forex, when you're bringing your dollar compared to the Botswana pula, that's a bargain really. And then also our land, we do have vast land that you can actually use to cultivate this without even a squabble. All you have to do is to ensure that there's a PPP in place. You partner with the public, you partner with the government, and also you coming on board as a private sector. So case studies, you can go look at Rwanda and South Africa's booming health industries that has essentially contributing quite immensely to the economic growth. Here, I'm only trying to show you a carbon sequestration between hemp farming and the natural forest as you would find it. So what you're seeing there is on your left, you're seeing just a comparison between hemp farming and the forest, and it's showing tons carbon dioxide per hectare. It shows you that you are actually doing a fair bit in terms of advantage to the environment as opposed to the natural environment. In terms of the natural forest. And additionally, there are other environmental benefits to hemp cultivation, which is essentially health improvement. We're also there looking at pesticides reduction. We're looking at erosion prevention as well as carbon storage. This is post-harvest. So you do know that, the imperative is there and the research is there. All we have to do is just put all this knowledge into practice. And really, this is a call for me to say that while you're thinking about putting together your investment, Square Gig Group is here to help you to get your social license to operate, to help you figure out and put together an ESG strategy for not just your investment, but also for the communities that you're going to be working with. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is our contact. And I'm so sorry once again, I cannot take your questions, but I would love to see your emails coming through and we can take it from there. Thank you.
One word.
Yeah.
Eloquence. Thank you, Shamil. Her contact details were up on the screen. I hope you got a snapshot of those. Please do get a hold of her, get in touch if you have any questions or would like to appreciate anything about her presentation this afternoon. Up next, we have Professor Richie Mwalusi, University of Botswana Innovation Center. Re Mwalusi.
Good afternoon. As the Director of Ceremonies introduced me, I'm the current director of the University Innovation Pod. But I think some of you might know it as the University Innovation Center. We started about 2 years ago, but sometimes last year, UNDP came on board around May that they have this project which they are rolling across Africa of producing university innovation pods. And their concern was that there's no prominent startup which have started in Africa. If you take Facebook, Microsoft, Google, FedEx, you name them, they started at universities. So they thought the brilliant minds in universities, they don't have the space, equipment, facilities to innovate and come up with these startups. So they came on board that the university should give them space where they can maybe renovate and then equip that space to be used by students. But I should also indicate that the Innovation Center is not only for students and staff, it's open for everyone. So far, I think we have about 50% of people coming from outside, and then another 50% are students and staff. Basically, what we do is to support the innovation ecosystem. From an idea which you have in the head, or you come up with a prototype that I have this product, I want to improve it so that I can go into the market. Or I'm thinking of doing this, and then we take you through the stage until you get to the market. You'll forgive me that I'll be rushing a bit because I have another meeting at 4. So the innovation pod is a makerspace. UNDP has provided different labs, as you will see in the next few slides, which are well equipped. So anybody can come in. If you have a viable business idea, you can come in and we'll give you space to work. We'll give you mentors who will take you step by step. And we concentrate on two different things. Because what we have realized that our innovators are just concentrated in the product, but now how do you turn this now into a business which people can benefit? And for this, I think we are going to come at the tail end of this hemp, where now you want to do the byproducts from hemp. This is where we will be coming in handy for you. And again, one of the areas which UNDP were concerned was to close the gap between this theoretical research produced by members of staff, and then they publish into journals, and then a lot of people don't have access to those journals because you have to pay. Now, how do you bring in applied research which would result in products and services? The pod came into being so that it can bridge that gap, so that we don't see only papers being chunked in and out. We now see products and services coming out of universities. Basically, these are our key services. This for prototyping, incubation and acceleration, entrepreneurial training. This is where now we train our engineers, to be. We don't want our graduates to run a business for a year once they have graduated from this the pod, and then the business collapses because maybe they have misused the money or something. We want them to to be in a position to run successful businesses. We have state-of-the-art equipment. So far, I think about 95% of the equipment has arrived. We are just waiting for the buildings that have been being renovated to be handed for us, so that now we can start setting up the equipment. So we provide mentors, coaches, advisors to innovators who are with us, and even funding opportunity. For example, we just got a funding opportunity. There's a hub in Zambia. They want ideas on mining tech, and it will be a sponsored project. So such kind of opportunities, they come to us, and then we pass them to our innovators and the general public so that they can submit. So these are the labs which we are having. The only labs which equipment is still somewhere in the Indian Ocean is the fabric lab and the wood lab. Otherwise, all the other equipment are there. And our thematic areas, we are going to be looking on green tech, producing products and services in green tech, agri-tech, creatives. Equipment is there. If you are in music, film, photography, equipment is there. Please be our advocates out there, that they can come and see what we have, and then they can produce whatever they want. But the mining and the tourism tech, they are abused because there is a satellite, a smaller innovation pod abused. This is where mining tech and tourism would be more focused. So far we have over 20 projects going on, and they are in those areas listed there. I think one area which is coming strongly from the ideas which we are receiving is natural products from indigenous knowledge, from our own plants. This is something which is coming up. For example, in December, we run a megathon, and one of the groups, they produce an arthritis tablet, which is much better than what, from the results, which is much better than what is in the market currently. So we're just running that with the labs, accredited labs, so that whatever claims they are making, is it what is in there? So this is one area which is, I think, is coming up. We have pesticides coming from our indigenous plants and all that. One of the areas which was asked to talk about is partnerships. We are partnering with anybody who likes our vision, who like our vision. And it has been other innovation centers in the country and outside the country, some of the industries, the banks are aligned to our vision. And between Botswana and Canada, we have, this is the first university, the Queen's University, which we had a cooperation or collaboration with, and they were in a position to share their incubation and acceleration program, and we contextualized to our own context. And for us, it's always you scratch my back and then I'll also scratch your back. We have to support their MasterCard. I think you have seen the MasterCard Foundation, which they almost advertise yearly. And one of the areas which we are yet to, develop is to create a community of practice where our innovators can collaborate with innovators there. And we see it as a win-win situation whereby for you to start maybe exporting to Canada, if you have a partner there and then you are working collaboratively, it will be easy to enter the Canadian market. And this is something which we want to push really hard as towards commercialization. We were also collaborating with the University of Toronto, I think in December. Yes, December, and they have this program, basic program of entrepreneurship, so that others when you start pitching to investors, when they ask questions, you are not lost, you don't know what it is. And then I think this year, the beginning of this year, Carleton University, they came on board as well, and then they are looking at how can we use our indigenous knowledge to create products and services to address issues of youth unemployment. So these are I think 3 universities which we are now closely working with in Canada. Now there are opportunities for you and some of the investors who might be here, farmers who are here, that if you have a challenge, come and see us. For us to have a pool of innovators, we can create a team which can work on your solution, and then we can see how we commercialize that together as a partnership. What is important is that if we can get more challenges coming from the society, not innovators coming with solutions, let it be two-way, then our work would be much more relevant, because they'll be addressing issues which are, you are experiencing. And my appeal to you is that we are in block 205 at the university. The small buildings which started the university, where there you've seen the branding. You can't get lost, just next to the library. Just get there and come and see what we are doing and how we can work with you. And some of the little achievements which we have done, we have implemented the Open Innovation Program, which was funded by GIZ. We are currently working with BCS Skills Academy in Estonia. We got some funding from Estonian Center of International Development. We would appreciate that we are in the digital economy. So our SMEs, are they capacitated to, compete favorably with others from different countries digitally? So we have an upskilling program of SMEs, and we hope the Ministry of Trade and Entrepreneurship would take over this project and scale it across the country. We have applied for about 5 patents. We have one new TT model which was granted by SIPA. We have some of the projects which are really ready to hit the market. But we said we want to do things professionally. We want these products to be tested by an accredited lab, and then we apply for the BOP standards before our products can go to the market. So all these products, they're now in South Africa being tested. The ski cactus tree, Utorok. So you could see that there's one pesticide made from hair, human hair. And it looks like, from the little tests which I've done, it looks like it's a promising pesticide. So, another energy management system, for those who are using Samsung, you can switch on and off your stereo, your TV, but this one, any system, you can switch your geyser from here. When you get home, you find the water warm. You can switch your lights on and off from here using your mobile phone. What is left is that we ask him to link it with VPC, that you can recharge your electricity using the system. We have one e-commerce company which claiming to you that it's a student company. Rural Junction is a e-store. You can buy through the e-store and then they can deliver to you. It's a student, and this is what we want to see more of this coming out of the university. Basically, we are to support research and development, especially applied research, which results in products and services. And as farmers, let's not stop with having maize, produced maize. Let's look at the byproducts which can be produced from maize, from sorghum, from all this. We have a pool of young, talented, the young ones, their minds have not yet been polluted by, the mortgage, school fees, this and that, bills. They can think innovatively. Rona, school fees. So this they become mental blocks. So come and see us, and then we can see how we can work together to have exports coming from Botswana. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Prof, for that. I love the program they're doing, how to put it to market. So they're doing some really good, amazing work at the Innovation Center. So thanks a lot, Dr. Malosi. So we're gonna go back to Hemp, and we'll connect with Ghana. I'm just trying to see if we can get him on here. And he's gonna speak about the Ghanaian perspective. They fairly legalized hemp not too long ago. It's a good friend of mine, Dr. Mark Dako. And let me just, so you can join us online. Hello, Mark, can you hear us? Hello? Hello, Dr. Mark, can you hear us? Are you on mute? Can you hear us? No. We had this problem earlier.
Can you hear me?
Oh, perfect. Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, perfect. You're very audible.
Thank you. Let me off my video for a better bandwidth.
They're saying they want to see you on TV.
Okay, that's fine. My bandwidth, I just hope that it will be stable.
If it buffers,
But I hope we can
maybe
see
you
it.
can, yeah. But let me welcome you. This is Dr. Mark Dako. He's based in Ghana, good friend of mine, and he's the CEO of the Ghanaian Chamber of Cannabis, and he wants to share on the Ghanaian perspective, the fairly legalized cannabis in Ghana, and he can share with us the pros and cons, how the journey has been, and probably see what we can learn from their experience, in as much as we heard from a South African perspective and a Canadian perspective. So, Mark Dako, you can go ahead.
Thank you, John, and thank you for the opportunity. My fellow cannabis enthusiasts and industry leaders, distinguished guests and colleagues, I bring you greetings from the Republic of Ghana. I must say that it's an honor for me to speak on this subject matter that has the potential to transform Ghana's economy in a very amazing way. I have good news for you from Ghana. Just like John indicated, Ghana recently legalized cannabis for medicinal purposes and also for industrial use. We're talking about industrial hemp. Although the THC allowed is quite small, that's only 0.3%, we expect that as time goes on, especially when we're able to properly deal with the public perception of cannabis, the THC might be increased. So for now, it has been legalized only for medicinal purposes and also for industrial uses. So Ghana is setting the pace in this because we're the first in West Africa to take this step. So all eyes are on us. And so platforms like capable of doing for economy and how it's going to impact positively on the African economy as a whole. Well, we are at a historic turning point here in Ghana. This industry presents a once in a lifetime opportunity for us because we know it's going to create jobs for our people, it's going to attract investments, and it's actually going to diversify our economy. I'm sure most of you know that for too long, Ghana's economy has depended on the traditional exports like cocoa, gold, oil, and timber. Well, while these industries have served us fairly well over the years, cannabis offers a new frontier with immense economic potential for us as well. However, for this industry to reach its potential, we must understand both the opportunities and the challenges that lie ahead for Ghana. One of the key challenges I want to highlight is the stigma and misunderstanding of cannabis here in our country. I don't know how it is with you in Botswana, but well, I've been to North America where I met John, I've met him in Canada, and it's not the same in those places. So, but we know that for Africans, when things come up, we are slow at embracing certain changes, but over time, we're able to have a full gear and then embrace it full. When it comes to stigma, let's talk about the history. For many years, cannabis has been wrongly classified here in Ghana alongside hard drugs like cocaine and heroin. So this wrong classification has led to harsh penalties and strict bans, and this has prevented scientific research and economic development. Here in Ghana, if you are caught with cannabis for recreational use, just holding it, just in your pocket, not smoking, you are sure to go in for not less than 8 years. So you see how harsh the penalty is. Cannabis was widely used in Africa for medicinal and cultural purposes before colonial rule, and there is a lot of evidence to show that Ghana used cannabis before the colonial masters came here. However, colonial governments criminalized cannabis and they labeled it as a dangerous drug without scientific evidence. And so many anti-cannabis campaigns have exaggerated the dangers of cannabis and they have ignored its medical and industrial benefits. It's unfortunate. The focus has been on recreational abuse rather than the potential of cannabis, i.e., it's able to create many jobs and it's a billion-dollar industry. Some religious groups associated with cannabis have also labeled cannabis as close to immorality and delinquency, and this has discouraged open discussions about its benefits. Well, what we are doing in Ghana now as a chamber is that we are doing our best with public education, awareness campaigns, and sensitizations. And the government and the private sector and industry stakeholders are coming together with us at chamber level to launch educational campaigns to inform the public about medicinal and industrial use of cannabis and how it's going to impact positively on the economic growth of our country. So one thing we're also doing now is that we are doing a lot of media campaigns, and we are using media platforms to highlight scientific research and success stories from countries like Canada, countries like US, countries like Germany, countries like Israel. So just last month here in Ghana, we had a trade mission, a joint trade mission. We are taking baby steps, but we are making very good progress. Healthcare professionals are also joining us, and we're helping them to play a role in explaining cannabis benefits to patients. We are also trying our best to have collaborations with universities and institutions in Ghana to conduct studies in cannabis to provide locally relevant data on its impact and potential for our economy. One thing too is this: we must do our best to separate industrial hemp from recreational cannabis, because that's where the confusion is. Many people do not realize that industrial hemp is non-psychoactive. They don't know that it cannot make you high when you smoke. So clearly differentiating hemp used for textile, biofuels, and construction from high THC cannabis, especially the ones that are used for recreational purposes, can really induce the fear and the resistance. One thing we're also doing here is that we're engaging the religious and traditional leaders to influence public opinion, because these are people whose opinions really matter and they lead a lot of people. So by involving them in discussions and policy dialogues, we are aiming to change the narratives at a community level. Here in Ghana, there was a little issue that unfortunately we couldn't influence that much when the legislative instrument was passed. The regulator that was appointed for this industry is the Narcotics Control Commission. And I'm sure by just listening to the name, you know that they still believe that this is something that has to do with hard drugs. The Narcotics Control Commission is an enforcement agency. Unfortunately, our people have failed to understand that cannabis is a business. But what we are doing at chamber level is to provide the education that is needed for people to understand that this is not like something that is connected to hard drugs. But if you engage in cannabis trade and cannabis cultivation, you are doing real business. So we are hoping that a well-regulated industry will ensure that cannabis is used for economic growth, medicine, and industrial applications rather than abuse. Here in Ghana, we have strict licensing regime, although we are waiting for the Fees and Charges Act to be passed for us to be able to know how to apply for the licenses. There are about 11 licenses that have been prescribed under the legislative instrument here in Ghana, from cultivation through export license, value-added license, logistics license, warehousing, and all of that. We need a license to be able to do all of that. But this is where we are. So Ghana is making strides and good progress. We are not just another country legalizing cannabis. Our country has unique advantages that make us one of the best places in the world to cultivate high quality cannabis and hemp. One thing is that Ghana has one of the best climates for cannabis cultivation. And here in Ghana, cannabis grows all year round. And the entire country of Ghana, wherever you put cannabis seed, cannabis grows. Can you imagine? Unlike other regions where cannabis grows seasonally, Ghana's tropical climate ensures continuous harvest and increasing profitability. Ghana has over 13.6 million hectares of arable land. That's a significant that is arable and cultivable. And if we allocate some portion of this land for cannabis production, we can imagine the benefits, economic benefits that our country will make. So with the right policies in place, we know that Ghana will take the lead. And of course, with countries like Botswana supporting us with your vast knowledge and experience as our senior brothers when it comes to legalization, we know that we will ensure high production levels for both processing locally and also for exports. I'm sure you know that Ghana's geographic position along the West African coast also provides easy access to European, American, and African markets, making logistics and exports very efficient. Our ports in Ghana and trade agreements under the AFCFTA further strengthen our position as a cannabis export hub. So we are aiming to generate $1 billion every year for Ghana with cannabis. How are we going to be able to do that? Ghana can cultivate 100,000 hectares of cannabis. And we know that the average yield per hectare is about 1,500 kilograms, or 1.5 tons of dry cannabis flowers per year. And this means that Ghana can produce at least 150,000 metric tons of cannabis annually. And the market estimation from the global pricing, we know that high quality medicinal cannabis is around $5,000 per kg. So if Ghana exports just 200,000 kg or 200 tons of high quality medicinal cannabis, that alone will rake in about $1 billion revenue for Ghana. Can you imagine how this can impact positively on us? Just recently, Ghana was on the doors of the IMF begging for loans to revamp our economy. IMF was gave Ghana, I think, between $1 and $2 billion, but in small tranches. But if we are able to generate $1 billion every year to the Ghanaian economy using cannabis alone, why would we be on the corridors of IMF and the World Bank begging for loans? The debt to equity ratio, the debt to GDP ratio in Ghana is more than 80%. So Ghana is a highly indebted country. However, if we can use cannabis as an injection of capital into our economy, we know that gradually we can reduce our debt levels. So for industrial hemp, we also know that it sells around $500 per kg, and so Ghana can generate an additional 500 million to 700 million annually from hemp fibers, seeds, and other byproducts. The industrial and pharmaceutical industry really provide us a lot of potential for cannabis in our country. I wouldn't want to bore you too much with the details on how cannabis can be applied, industrially speaking, and medicinally speaking. But I'm sure you all know how very, very potent the cannabis plant is and what it's able to do medicinally. So we are hoping that Ghana can transform its economy by diversifying into cannabis instead of relying on cocoa, gold, and oil and timber. We are hoping to create over 200 direct and indirect jobs, 200,000 direct and indirect jobs in Ghana, with government revenue of at least 200 million in annual tax revenue, which also can be generated. And foreign exchange earnings, Ghana can become a top exporter of cannabis-based products. So my friends, just to let you know that we are all in this together. Ghana has the ingredients to become a global leader. So remember us in this cannabis journey. We have an ideal climate, we have fertile lands, we have a strategic location, and an industrial market that is growing rapidly. So by investing in large-scale production, processing, and export of cannabis, we aim to generate a huge amount of money for ourselves and for our economy. But we must break the stigma through education, research, and responsible regulation. This is the time to act. We want to seize the opportunity. Thank you very much, my brothers and sisters, and let us put our hands together and get this done and transform the economic landscape of Africa as a whole. Not Ghana alone, but we know when we start, others will follow. Ghana was the first country to gain independence in Sub-Saharan Africa. When we did, other countries followed suit. So I'm very confident that with this cannabis journey, when Ghana is able to get it right, the entire Africa will embrace this, and our economic potential will be even more enhanced, and will create also our people, and the status of our individual economies will rise as well. I appreciate the opportunity, and thank you very much once again.
Thank you very much, Dr. Darko. Let me just put it back to the floor. Any questions? Anybody with a question, comment, contribution to the Ghanaian perspective?
Yes.
Yes. Dr. Mark, there's a question. Just hold on.
Go ahead. Huh? And
wrap up, I'd like to. I think Ministry of Agriculture is here. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Thank you. So this is a team from Botswana. We've heard a lot, and I would like us to engage each other, have conversations, and ask ourselves where to from here. We've heard a lot, we've learned a lot, and where do we take it from here? So I'll let them introduce themselves, and then we're going to start the discussion.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dr. Gloria Mashungwa, and I'm representing the Botswana University of Agriculture and Natural Resources.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Luis Nsebetwane. Hello everyone, my name is Uderele Murisiwa. I'm the Director of Food Crops and Horticulture. I'll be representing NADI, National Agriculture Research and Development Institute. But a lot has been said already by Prof. On the perspectives of NADI though. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Lula Manelutola. I am here representing Botswana Medicines Regulatory Authority.
All right, thank you, everyone. And the point of this, as I mentioned earlier, is to say, okay, how can we hold ourselves collectively, not just the institutions collectively, accountable on moving forward? What lessons can we learn, and where are we moving from here? So we'll start with the key ministry, which is Lands and Agriculture. And I don't think we've heard them speak today, and they can speak to us from where are they as a ministry in setting the stage or setting the protocols for us to start getting into this industry. So, sir, you can jump into that.
Okay, thank you, sir. Our position as the Ministry of Lands and Agriculture is that currently industrial hemp and cannabis are prohibited, and these two plants are regulated by the three ministries: Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Justice, and the Ministry of Health. But currently, as you are aware that during the State of the Nation's cannabis or medicinal cannabis must be produced in this country with the objective of creating jobs. So the three ministries, we met at one point to discuss the issue because we realized, yes, indeed, we understand the importance of the two plants, but we still have the hurdles of, working on the three legislations so that we allow cultivation of these crops in the country. The Prof in the morning mentioned that we also met with the institutions, the institutions under the Ministry of Lands and Agriculture to put up a position paper to cabinet to put forward our position regarding the production of these two plants. And our position is that, yes, we agree with the decision made by the government. However, we still have to work on the three legislations. And from the presentations here, it's clear that this is a process. It's not something that can be done overnight. But we have been given timelines for us to have concluded on the three legislations so that we allow cultivation of this plant. But from our own understanding, or from the lessons that we learned from our neighbors, is that the two crops, if we embark on producing the two crops, it is indeed true that we'll be able to create jobs as well as to cater for our health sector with the medicinal cannabis. So that on its own is enough to justify why the country should allow cultivation of the two crops. So we are working on the legislation, trying to amend the legislation so that we meet the deadlines put forward to us. Like I said, that this is a process and it requires collaboration, as it has been said by the presenters this morning. We need to bring together all the stakeholders so that we move forward together. Also, in Botswana, as you are all aware of, the Botswana are aware that the medicinal cannabis has been stigmatized. It's associated with bad things. Though people use it illegally, we have to create awareness to our people so that they change their mindset, for them to understand the importance of this plant, of the medicinal cannabis, as well as the hemp. Also to engage with other non-governmental organizations so that they understand where the position or the direction we want to take. And I'm from the Department of Plant Health. As a regulator, we are aware that we have to strengthen our regulations so that we are able to contain these plants. And currently the situation is that we have inspectors who are able to do that. What is needed is just to capacitate them so that they are able to deal with the issue. And also for research, I don't think a lot has been done, because this way NADI has been able to do something immediately after the State of the Nation's address. So I think we are in a position to say the country will be ready once the legislation has been completed, has been reviewed. We have a chunk of land to enable legislation, even those areas which have been designated for arable farming. Some of them remain unutilized. So to present an opportunity for investors to come in and start production once we are done with the legislation and other issues surrounding the two plants. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your input. I think it's quite key. And before we move on, we know the 100 days are coming up, right? So any questions from the floor? Anybody with a question for Ministry of Lands and Agriculture? Yes.
Not necessarily a question, but a comment using a live case study. I'm sure all of you are aware of the plant, the devil's claw. Yes. The devil's claw was an indigenous plant locally. I think they call it Castrana Singaparia. Yes. When missionaries came in, they added a name that was stigmatized that particular plant, but it had been in use for decades. by locals, and it was used effectively to treat illnesses. Effectively, what's now happened is that particular plant Namibia is actually the biggest exporter of that particular plant. Germany and other European countries are now the biggest users of that plant. So the point I'm trying to make about all of this is that we find ourselves here. I'm a farmer, hoping to come at the beginnings of the conversations pertaining to medicinal cannabis and hemp. We don't want to be left behind on potential cash flows that could take place. And we are looking towards particularly you in the forefront here to help guide us so that we don't find ourselves excluded for what's most important here. It is the cash flows and the direction that they're moving towards the local people that are here. It's very sad for me to say that Devil's Claw, even though its origination was from this country and in South Africa, we find ourselves not even utilizing it from a prescription perspective. Doctors locally here, very few of them are prescribing Devil's Claw for some of the ailments that in Europe they're using the very same plant for. So we want the medical cannabis conversation to be as big as it is in Europe, and some of those cash flows not to be pointed at big corporations, but we point at them and we've created millionaires and even billionaires that are indigenous and local. That's why we find ourselves here. All right, thank you.
There's a question here. Kian has a question, and then
Thank you again. It's not a comment, it's more of a little bit of inputs on the list. We know from working in numerous countries does take time. A lot of parties to consultants, a lot of ministries and moving parts to get to work in sync to change legislation. So I've had a quick look at your legislation. And I think that there's potentially a loophole or a point that you could exploit. And that's part 2, section 6.1. It says any person who without authority cultivates any part. So in other words, your existing legislation already provides a provision for the lawful authority to be able to produce, cultivate, process, manufacture. So therefore, in our opinion, what is required is an interim measure, is to be able to issue permits whilst the legislation is actually being amended. That will enable you to still do the right amount, give the right amount of time and focus to create proper legislation, and whilst you're still able to actually kickstart your industry at the same time. Thank you.
Based on what Kian actually pointed out also, to start working on that in terms of research and development, it means that programs can be started already with the collaboration of the city. The other thing is focusing on agronomic trials and genetic research for industrial applications can be explored. And then to also start pilot programs. Those are things that demonstrate that we can start working whilst waiting for the legislation.
Good afternoon. My name is Morris. I just wanted to find out about the timelines that the speaker said they were given regarding legislation, and also to tell how you intend to collect information in relation to this evil cloud around the plants, because obviously it's clear that quite a lot of the basis for characterization is biased. Thank you.
maybe let's answer that. Anybody who might want to answer? Yes.
To the one on the authority to cultivate. So you see, the challenge with that is that there are no regulations, or there's nothing that is guiding whoever is authorized to do that in terms of how they go about it. So we have there's a similar provision in the Illicit Substances Act that also empowers the minister to waive or to waive the requirement the minister can authorize the importation of cannabis for medicinal use, for pharmaceutical analysis. But the challenge with that is that there are no regulations at the moment. So you would wonder how the minister is going to go about it, because there has been a case on that. So the minister has been taken to court on that. Yes. Because there are no regulations, so you are giving a license and then what after issuing a license, or a permit, giving a permit and then what?
I may add on this one. The Ministry of Agriculture and of Lands and Agriculture, they have a committee, a technical committee that they've assembled, which include Minister of Agriculture, NADI, parastatals, Minister of Health, my sister here were part of the team that was working on the resolution paper that they were referring to in the morning. So the resolution paper had all those options of whether we can start something at the moment. Otherwise, we are waiting to clear everything in terms of the legislation. The paper that they are referring to has already been passed to cabinet. They've looked at it. They've already been taken to cabinet. This is as fast as it is because that was done this week and already it has gone to the AG chamber so that it can go through all the processes. So it seems everything is going as fast as it's supposed to be. You remember farmers were saying we are talking, but for them they want to start work right away. So the legislature is aware of that, pushing on that. I just wanted to comment.
Recommendation using the or SADC consortium can be used for. Could you kindly just expand a bit there on terms of protection? It was talking more onto the decorticator, especially looking at the size of the hemp from European countries versus the African one, and how starting to import machinery and will actually now start opening us up to have another devil's claw situation. Yes.
Thanks for putting me on the spot, Doc. We were just discussing outside about the potential that we have to keep the industry, not just focusing on the indigenous plants and the land-raised cannabis seeds that are available, but also the innovations. If there's machinery developed in the SADC countries, that we look internally and make sure that we protect our own first. When we started looking at the market for processing equipment, the only things that are available commercially are machines that are of a very low quality from China. So you buy something, you don't know what you're getting, which is in the Forca. The reason being just the mere size of our plants breaks those machines literally. There's been a couple of mobile decorticators that has come to South Africa and has been taken to rural areas. They usually don't last longer than a day. Excuse me, because the materials aren't just not up for it. The fact that we get to develop these solutions, whether it be technology or equipment, by starting from grassroots and making use of the African resources, also makes those things robust, which puts us in a position to now start exporting these. Because why do we wait for the Europeans to take our genetics, plant it in controlled circumstances, then not just sell us the regulations or enforce the regulations back, but we also have to buy those genetics and the equipment and the technology. So thanks, Doc. That's my input on that.
All right. Anybody else?
Yeah, I wanted to
ask the gentleman yesterday on one case where an investor was given permission to embark on planting cannabis. And then later on,
his plans were uprooted. The case went to court. I wondered how it was resolved. Does the minister have power to issue a license for cannabis? Thank you.
The legal minds. The minister have the power to issue license. Anyone who can answer that?
I thought that's I was responding to that. The minister, the Illicit Substances Act empowers the minister in consultation with BOMRA. Yes, to permit the cultivation. For medicinal, it's specific. It's based for medicinal, psychological analysis, pharmaceutical analysis, and there's another, yeah. So there are only 3 reasons in which the minister can do that. But the challenge is that you have that provision that allows the minister in the Illicit Substances Act, but there are no regulations. So how does then the minister go about issuing that permit? So that is not there.
I think that's clear. Yes, Davison, and then we'll move on.
I just the mic.
The mic.
Okay, I'll be loud.
Yes, please.
In my country of birth, there's what you call the presidential, what do you call it? Directive. Does it exist here?
Executive order.
Executive order like in America? Does it exist here?
Yes.
Then we have the way. Let's talk to the president. Thank you.
Fast track the time. All right. So we'll move on. I just want Omra to share. Oh, yes, ma'am.
No, I have the mic.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
I have the mic.
Yes.
Can I keep the mic?
Yes, you can.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you very much, Nadi, for that clarification on the document that is going to the cabinet. I'm from the Hemp Industry Collective Association. Basically, what I would like to know is, with your paper and your documents, is there any platform where Botswana are allowed to contribute to that document, lest we find ourselves that, we have not had any input, and then the next thing we are bouncing. I think you know the story of the constitutional review. So please, I was just asking if there's a place where you can allow us and other farmers we can contribute. Our association is an association of engineers, economists, and farmers as well. So we are just looking at the hemp and medicinal cannabis in general from the whole value chain, not just for the cultivation, but also from the legal perspective. Thank you.
Normally when you have a technology, technology is something that you have, be it a product, be it a technique. But to ensure full utilization of that, there is skills development that is crucial to ensure proper uptake and proper utilization, and to ensure that the functional literacy gets the end product where we realize the profit from this green gold that we have. So I think one of the important things, yes, we're talking about regulations, permits, don't miss that gap of skills development, because you would find people chasing, Doc just here mentioned from 500K investment to 2 million profit, and people might get excited by this, and permits are flying, people go plant, it's a failure. Fortunately for us, there's a lot of agreements in place between South Africa and Botswana. I mean, ARC has an agreement with Buan And one of the items, their objectives is skills transfer and skills development. So please don't forget the skills part of it. This will enable us to actually take charge of this market and flourish in it.
That's a very good point. And discussing with one as well, they raised that as well. We need to upskill people who want to go into that industry. And in that money, I'd like to our one professor to, I think, have a presentation.
Oh, I think you have you did a presentation?
Yes, I did it.
Oh, you did? All right. But you can just speak to what she's saying. The mic.
Right. What she mentioned is very crucial and very true, because as an academic institution, people who do training, our core mandate is actually to train and transfer skills and knowledge. So as this endeavor came about, we immediately knew our task is to make sure that everybody who's going to get into this industry is going to pass through us, to train them in ways and means and how to cultivate cannabis, sativa, and how to each and every knowledge that they actually need. We are there, for them, for the whole industry. We immediately hit the ground running. We put together a multidisciplinary team. Some of them are here. Professor Kwahili is a member of that team. For a very long time, training, students through the university of how to cultivate even cannabis, even though it was not legalized. It was in our it was listening, and then we'll teach them. I myself taught the kids, how to even if some of them out there, I didn't hate because this is coming up finally, because we know the amount of products that we talked about this morning that come from industrial hemp. It's exciting. So we, as a university, will be doing that training. We have the Center for CICE, Center for Insects and Continuing Education, whereby we run short courses. We even plan to look at our curriculum, to look at even the degrees that we offer. Maybe come up with like South Africa did on courses about on industrial hemp or cannabis sativa. So, thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Annie. Oh, your colleague has a.
Well, thank you very much. I'm not adding on to what she said. I think she said, that yes, we positioned ourselves in training, but as well as research. We should also do short courses and even long-term courses and skills development through the open and distance learning. We're going to do that. But I had my own question regarding the Ministry of Agriculture as they advise government. I've been hearing only about the 2 uses of cannabis. But from what I learned from my South African this morning, there is the other use which I don't know why we're shying away from.
which might not very long from now come back to haunt us. Wouldn't be prudent with the knowledge that we got from our South African counterpart to also advise the government as they develop the legislature or the framework, the legal framework, to also cater for the recreational cannabis because, or recreational use, because it is actually there in South Africa. At least what I heard from them is there is some legality in terms of the use. I don't know of other countries like Lesotho, but I mean, why are we picking? I know maybe the president said those two, but I think forums like this are meant to also, equip us with knowledge for going forward in actually putting down processes for the introduction legal of the cannabis sativa. I would not say hemp or that. I will just use so that I encompass the whole species. So I mean, don't you think it's prudent to advise on the other uses, that we cover the 3 uses of cannabis sativa? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, I think the reason why we are here and meeting our counterparts was to learn from them. We heard about the uses, so when we advise the government, we'll take that direction. It's up to the government to decide whether we adopt everything or we leave out some of the uses, like the recreational use. On the issue for that paper, the paper was between the committee advice and cabinet. They were advising the cabinet about how the issue should be handled, whether it needs review of the legislation or they can, just amend or do or develop some regulations. But when it comes to review of the act, then everyone will be consulted so that we have your input.
Thank you very much. And on the skills part, I want to have AP speak to us about hemp or cannabis 101. I think in taking back to the basics, that's where we are as a country. What's the importance of that? What do we need to learn, and how can we go into cannabis 101? You want to speak on it?
Hello, hello. Good afternoon. Let me just quickly get my notes. I had a 15-minute heads up for this, so please excuse. Understanding industrial cannabis. And yes, I say cannabis because industrial cannabis is hemp. The only difference between that makes it industrial is the intent behind cannabis. The context is important, but for today, we're going to stick to industrial cannabis 101. So I'm going to give you a 10-minute informal lecture for the Botswana Medical Cannabis and Industrial Hemp Conference. We're going to break down industrial cannabis 101 with a no-nonsense introduction to what industrial cannabis is, why it matters, and how it fits into Africa's agricultural and economic landscape. Industrial cannabis is one of the world's oldest cultivated crops, yet it remains widely misunderstood. Let's clear that up. So we'll start with what is industrial cannabis. Commonly known as hemp, it comes from the Cannabis sativa species, but differs significantly from its psychoactive cousin, normal cannabis. The key difference, the THC content, the good stuff, as they say. Hemp or industrial cannabis is legally defined as cannabis containing less than 0.3% on the international market. In Africa, I think we're moving towards a 3%, below 3% or 2% currently, meaning it cannot get you high, but it can revolutionize your industries. There are three main uses that we focus on when looking at industrial cannabis. The fiber, utilized for textiles, bioplastics, biocomposites, as well as construction materials. Look around you, anything made from plastic can be made sustainably with cannabis. Grains of the industrial cannabis is not only a nutritional powerhouse, but they are rich in omega acids, fatty acids. They are perfect for optimizing food's nutritional content, cosmetics, as well as industrial oils. This has the potential to revolutionize the agricultural food sector as well. And then, of course, we can't forget number 3, cannabinoids. Yes, you do get good stuff in cannabis that does not get you high, but gets you well. These are non-psychoactive compounds with medicinal benefits and wellness applications, mostly referring to CBD, CBG, and various others. I'm not going to get too technical into the chemistry, then we'll be here all day. So then we move to why is hemp important. So hemp isn't just another crop. It's a multi-purpose agricultural game changer with environmental and economical benefits. Firstly, we look at the carbon sequestration. I can spell it, I can't pronounce it. 1 hectare of hemp will sequester more carbon per year than a forest. So me being into botany or plant sciences can tell you that spekboom, the revolutionary carbon scrubber, consumes 4 tons of CO2 annually on 1 hectare, while hemp starts off at 10 tons of CO2 sequestered per hectare, making it much more effective, but also making the CO2 sequestered viable to be returned into the earth and permanently captured and kept out of our atmosphere. If we look at the other point of why it is important, the regenerative agriculture, not only does it improve your soil health, but it prevents erosion by putting structure into the soil cultivated on that piece of land, while improving water retention and water efficiency. Then they have already quite covered the industrial potential with over 25,000 known uses, not products, but uses for one plant, from eco-friendly plastics to biofuels, textiles. So then the most important thing, I think, for Botswana would be the economic growth. So hemp can not only create jobs and boost rural economies, it will provide a sustainable alternative to resource-intensive crops like cotton and maize, not only using excessive amounts of water, but also pesticides, herbicides, and chemical nutrition, which hemp does not require a single one of. Botswana has a unique opportunity to tap into this high-value, low-water crop to not only diversify agriculture, but to diversify and improve the industrial production capacity of your beautiful country. Sorry, I've got a bit of cotton mouth. Don't worry, it's from talking, it's not from the herb. So then you all are here as well to learn about cultivating hemp. So I'll just give you a basic what you need to know. So before jumping in with cultivation, please understand your market. Know what your market is. Are you growing for fiber? Are you growing for seed? Are you growing for cosmetics, for cannabinoids? So there's an infamous joke in the hemp industry called the hemp trap, because people start planting with clear intent. We are doing grain, and then 6 weeks after the plants have popped up, now they're doing bioplastics and fuel, and they're building a rocket, and it's everything, and then they get nothing done. So focused production is key to execute hemp successfully. No product. It's simple. I'll leave you guys with hemp climate. I would even take a 1 hectare patch and put 10 different cultivars on there for a research project. And then for the local community, when you're done with R&D, if you're doing everything by hand, looking at grain, it's from 2 hectares, and I mean it'll sustain family single season when I say that.
I'm not sure you'll be able to answer this one. We're not there yet, but where do we get the seeds?
So, unfortunately, I do have the answer for you.
Okay, go for it.
So, if you want to go to international markets to see what the Europeans have to offer, I would recommend you go to hemppoint.cz. The contact person there is Hanna Gabrielova. She is one of the most beautiful people you will ever engage, very pure of heart and good with intent. They do package-free hemp products as well. So she will offer you assistance, and she doesn't have the ownership mentality. So she's there to help hemp grow globally. She's also on the UN Sustainability Council.
All right.
Or go to South Africa.
How much water is needed? Let's say 1 hectare, which you mentioned.
So it can survive and thrive on anything above. That's the execution. Mr. Nongu's understanding of what the plant is. It's a great way to break the stigma.
I think that about covers it.
Looks like.
Yes.
Oh, when he mentions animal feed, when I was speaking to Mom about this and trying to, and I'm like, animal feed. She's like, so I'm going to work on and educate everybody mission, because we wanted to close, but I see that by hands. Are we allowing?
I think we should, right?
All right, let's do that.
Yes or no? Can I get a thumbs up or a thumbs down? Thumbs up.
Any questions?
Okay, awesome.
Oh,
And
great.
we're keeping it open for questions. That's for the democracy.
In case we need to help AP through Hof with answers.
So we can go ahead and ask. Everybody, my name is Sekele, and also to the people who are addressing the issue here, the state of Botswana. We've talking about these nice things, medicinal